Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you game 1 out of 2 games between Mickeey and Herr Robert in round 2 of the second European tournament. Today we are going to be seeing Omaha, and on the Allied side Mickeey has chosen the Demi-Brigade SAS. On the Axis side, Herr Robert has chosen the 2nd Panzer. So both of these divisions very different from one another. The 2nd Panzer focusing much more on the armoured playstyle with a limited amount of forces at the start, whilst the Demi-Brigade SAS is one of those divisions that can absolutely spam from the start. They have so many different cheap units that they can really take advantage of to make lots of ground and just be a nuisance early on. Especially with things like the FFI Traction. The FFI Traction is the transport vehicle that can bring in some of the FFI units, and it is very, very fast on road. It's actually the fastest on-road vehicle in the game, and that means that it can get into positions that generally you wouldn't expect there to be infantry in, and that can be used to catch out your opponent on certain maps. And on a map like Omaha, where you're actually pretty close up, you're playing like close range engagements, having some of those FFI partisans or saboteurs in unlikely positions might give Mickeey the initiative that he needs to win the game. So we'll have to wait and see. Either way, on the side of the 2nd Panzer, there is the Panzer IVHs in the early game. They also have some pretty decent infantry, but a limited availability. But basically the idea for the 2nd Panzer is really just to stabilise in the early game, so that when you get to phase B, you have a ton of points to work with, because you get 150 points per minute. And that is the true strength of the 2nd Panzer. That is also accompanied by the fact that you can get Sturmgrenadiers, and due to there not being too much forest and more tree lines and buildings, those Sturmgrenadiers can do a lot of damage in this kind of setting. If it was like Bois de la Mort, I wouldn't really say they were as effective. But due to them being able to engage at 200 meter range with a high amount of HE compared to the 100 meter range that is normal, you can definitely do a lot of damage. Saying that, the Demi-Brigade also gets some very good infantry in phase B with all of the SAS coming in, so that may be a way in which Mickeey can really counter the forces that Herr Robert has in play. Let's have a look at some of these units going down anyway. On the top side, it's going to be the BEO Panzer II, 250-10 with the Panzerschreck. We see the command infantry there with the spear throat recon and the Sturmgrenadiers. Further down, another unit of recon for Herr Robert and 2 units of infantry. Over on the side of Mickeey, it's going to be the FFI Traction with the FFI Partisans. Then there's going to be some Jedburgh there with what looks like a Pack 40 or Pack 38, sorry. Further up, we see the FFI Rallies. They're going to be followed up by FFI Maquisards, and then they have the FFI Saboteurs. And there's going to be more Saboteurs heading into the town here with the FFI Partisans, another Jedburgh, and then a combination of Rallies and Maquisards. For Herr Robert, well, going towards Herr Robert, we do see more FFI Saboteurs, the FFI Partisan. That's going to be looking for the shot onto one of these half-tracks and does manage to find the kill. So nice job there. That does pin down the Sturm Pioneers as well, which means the Partisans can just break off for the time being and fall back. But off-map is going to be coming in. That may potentially pin down the Saboteurs and Jedburgh here. Spearthroop though do a good job of cleaning up the FFI Partisan unit. Herr Robert, he's noticed that there's not really many units here, so going to be moving his Panzergrens as far up as he can. On the bottom side, he put his Panzergrenadiers in a very defensive position. But off map now coming in, 250-10's getting involved. The main thing that Herr Robert will want to be doing here is just getting rid of this infantry advance into his town. and then carrying on from there. He did fall back the Sturm Pioneers. I think that was necessary because these F5 Saboteurs, they can kill the Sturm Pioneers in one hit with one of those grenades, and if the Sturm Pioneers are pinned down, then they won't be running anywhere. They will just take the grenade to the face. Pack 38 though does take a shot briefly at the BEO Panzer II, so that's going to have to back off. 250-10's pushing on the bottom side though, going to be opening up with its machine gun and the main gun, although I believe with the 250-10 it can only fire its main gun at the F5 Saboteurs or any infantry squad rather than its machine gun, because the machine gun is on the back. So that makes it a bit awkward to use sometimes. Like if you really want to do a lot of damage with the 3-star against enemy infantry, you're probably better off reversing towards them, which isn't something you would usually do. Panzer Grenadiers though, finding shots onto Macassars. Good thing that Mickeey has shown us to do here with these Macassars is turn off the Kar 98s. Generally you don't want these Kar 98s to engage at the 300 meter range, you just want to utilize the 18HE at the 100 meter range. So just making sure that you turn off those Kar 98s is a very good way to stop the enemy from spotting your units due to your own units giving themselves away. Western Lysander is being used here. Very slow recon aircraft, but does have 12 small 45 kilogram bombs. That's just going to be able to force back these Sturm Pioneers again, which really aren't having a very good day. Herr Robert has managed to find the kill onto the AT gun on that top side though, which has put him in a pretty nice position to use this Panzer II aggressively. Panzer IV-H coming in to the mid though. That's going to get bombed by the Western Lysander. I love the way this thing just floats around and picks its targets and just drops a couple bombs here and there. It's just more an annoyance than anything else, because generally those bombs can't pin things. They can pin infantry, but they'll never really be pinning a Panzer IV. The Panzer IV just kind of shrugged it off. This does actually mean Herr Robert's going to be bringing in a Focke-Wulf 190, and we can just see how fast the Focke-Wulf 190 is in comparison to the Western Lysander there, as it just zooms in off the edge of the map. The Western Lysander, I think, just made it, like, basically amplified how fast it looks like those Focke-Wulfs are moving. But either way, Herr Robert, he hasn't lost too much. He's actually in a pretty good position here. Like, generally, the Demi-Brigade SAS will always have an abundance of infantry at the start. There's nothing you can really do about it, because these Macassars are 25 points, the Saboteurs are only 15 points apiece, whereas your Panzer Grenadiers are 30 points and you have to bring them in a half track, so that's 50 points a squad, and that means you have significantly less on the field than your opponent. But as you can see, Herr Robert's having no trouble finding his way forward. Speertroop running ahead with these half tracks is going to spot these rallies and get them eaten up by the machine guns. This Panzer Grenadier found and killed off the FFI Partisan as well, so that's not going to be finding a kill onto a armoured vehicle anytime soon. Pack 40 has been brought in, going to be taking a shot at the Panzer IV. Herr Robert just going to be backing that up, but we'll probably still be able to utilise it if he just moves forwards behind this tree line and down towards the town. So far, it's just a matter of small infantry engagements here and there. Speertroop do get taken out though by the Macassars, and while the Focke-Wulf 190 is back to strafe this Pack 40. But with the Speertroop gone, there's no real way for Herr Robert to find these units without face checking into them, and that could lead him into a position where the Panzerfaust from the FFI rallies or an FFI Partisan squad actually find a kill. And that is not a position you really want to be in. Another Western Lysander is on its way. I'm actually surprised to see Mickeey invest in a second one when not a single piece of AA is on the field just yet. If the cannons had come in, then I wouldn't mind this choice. But here, he's just going to have the Focke-Wulf kill off another Western Lysander. and it just seems like a solid waste of points. The Pak-38 taking its shots at the 251. At this moment in time though, I think Herr Robert's pretty happy with where he's at. Preferably wouldn't be losing a +1 to Mickeey at this moment in time, but still his front line is intact, and as long as it continues to be moving into phase B, then the Sturmgrenadiers can come out to play and make things very, very difficult for Mickeey to deal with. Because that's when the combined forces really come into play, and a push on this top side could really do a lot of damage. Now those F5 saboteurs did throw their grenade, but Herr Robert microed the Sturm Pioneers back, so they did not take damage from that. Now both of these squads are going to be trying to make some more ground. These saboteurs are going to be taking the flames to the face, nothing they can do about that. Die very easily. And I like the way Herr Robert slowly but surely cleaning out this town, which will then allow his other vehicles to support an infantry push towards Mickeey's town. So the Macassars, they tried to get in the 50-meter range of the half-track there to get the grenades on target, but just going to end up getting themselves killed. This other Macassar squad, those men getting hit very hard. A second BEO Panzer II on the field. Now that is interesting. I'm surprised to see a second Panzer II. The first one didn't really do too well. I think it possibly took out the AT gun for Herr Robert. But other than that, wasn't crazy effective. I guess if this Pak-40 continues to be a problem, and same with the Pak-38 behind the town, then, and like the BEO Panzer manages to get the artillery strike onto these units, for example, then that would be really nice. But we'll have to see if Herr Robert can make that happen. Meanwhile, he is absolutely ruining Mickeey's infantry with the Sturm Pioneers. He takes out another saboteur squad, takes out the Jedburgh, and sort of solidifies his position on that topside town. He's also going to spot the Pak-38, so this Panzer II going to be moving aggressively forwards to find an artillery strike onto that Pak-38. On the bottom side, Panzer Grenadiers, they're trying to hold the ground, but these F5 rallies have found a salient, and that's something that Herr Robert's now going to have to clean up, because these rallies are just in such an awkward position right now, which is actually relatively difficult to clean up. But Herr Robert chewing through these infantry slowly but surely. The fact that they don't have their own AT is definitely one thing that is making it a lot easier for Herr Robert to push back through. And one thing that is promising for Herr Robert, even though he's at a deficit of the +1, is that he's making ground, regardless of the fact that he did not have a super successful early game. Mickeey is going to be bringing in a Panzer IV. We'll be looking to counter Herr Robert's Panzer IVs with that, but it's going to be difficult if the Pak-38 is involved. Pak-40, that could definitely do a lot of work here, but just needs to get into the right position. We'll have to keep an eye out on that Pak-40. Rallies now engaging Panzergrens. Panzer II's helping out engage the rallies. Sturm Pioneers trying to make it across the open here. Will want to be utilising that smoke. Same goes for the Speedthroop and Sturm Pioneers coming out on the top side. So here comes that off-map strike. Right on target. This is really nice from Herr Robert. I think that might do quite a bit of damage. Mickeey's done a great job though of really being a nuisance in the early game, which is exactly what you want to do as the Demi-Brigade SAS, and now he's going to make it even harder for Herr Robert to make ground, because where Herr Robert has Sturmgrenadiers, Mickeey has the SAS Chasseur Para, which are really, really good close-range infantry. They have 17 HE, which matches up to the Sturmgrenadiers very well. It does require them to use their smoke grenades to get close enough to the Sturm Grenadiers, because the Sturm Grenadiers can open up all of their guns at 200 meter range, whereas the Chasseur Para can only open up with the M1 carbines at 200 meter range, so they'll be lacking 10 HE over the Sturm Grenadiers. But at closer ranges, the Chasseur Para will just annihilate Sturm Grenadiers. So that's an engagement I'm excited to see. Panzer IVs, they're going to get involved. That's actually found a nice position to shoot at the Chasseur Para, but the Chasseur Para smoked itself off, already used a Gemmen bomb to take out one of the half-tracks, and I think Herr Robert is stopped in his tracks for the time being. But will want to take back ground on the bottom side, and has done a relatively good job of doing so far. Actually, never mind. That was Mickeey surrendering the half-track, so good job by Mickeey getting that surrender. But now 9 Panzergrens versus 6 rallies. This Kar 98 needs to be turned back on so that the rallies actually have more HE than the Panzer Grenadiers. Maxars, they're going to be strafed by the Focke-Wulf 190. Herr Robert convinced that they are there. Probably saw them with the Spear Troop. Vesper, though, going to be used to pin those down. And we'll be able to move aggressively onto them. Meanwhile, though, this engagement continues. And this is pretty important, actually, because if the rallies die here and the Grenadier can continue, the Traction's not going to do anything and it will probably die. So this removes the salient that Mickeey had and the +1 tick. Mickeey still will win if the map continues as it is, but does have the infantry in this phase to really stop Herr Robert from making too much ground. These are likely a couple unit of Sturm Grenadiers though, and they are moving forwards accompanied by a couple of Panzer IVs. May be able to do a lot of damage. Herr Robert convinced he can take the engagement with the FFI Panzer IV. The FFI Panzer IV doesn't have any veterancy compared to this Panzer IV. You like 2-star versus a 1 like no star is a pretty big difference. So a calculated risk there that would fall in favour of Herr Robert. The Panzergrens were successful. They cleaned up the rallies. 232 now come in to support that. That will make cleaning up that infantry a lot quicker. This Panzer IV helps the Sturm Grenadiers annihilate the Mackazars. And we see these Panzer Grenadiers now engaging these Mackazars. But Mickeey, he is just doing a really good job of just holding this front line. I can't really see like a strong way to break through this, because as this infantry gets deeper and deeper, it's going to be harder and harder to clean out the SAS Chasseur Para, because you're not going to have the support of the Panzer IVs as you get deep. Saying that, if Mickeey allows his infantry to be engaged on the edge, then that's going to suck. Like this Panzer IV opening up onto the Chasseur Para there. Sturm Grenadiers also opening up as well. The Chasseur Para might do a little bit of damage with their M1s, but they really need to just move back and let the Sturm Grenadiers jump into the building and engage them at the 100 meter range. That would be ideal. But what's ended up happening is both players have actually invested into their Jagdpanzer. This Jagdpanzer will be trying to prevent the Panzer IVs, I would assume. Whereas Herr Robert's Jagdpanzer may be utilised on the top side to take out this reinforcing road and then push his own infantry across while that's covering him. But Herr Robert really looking for this +1 right now. Going to want to start to bring more points back onto the field in his favour. Unit of command goes down. SAS Chasseur Para, they're getting hit hard by the Panzer IIs. Then Grenadiers engaging some more infantry on the top side, and I thought this would be a hard nut to crack for Herr Robert, but he has managed to make it work. These Sturm Grenadiers, with that extra little bit of range, makes all the difference. and enabled him to sort of sweep up this infantry so damn quick. This Panzer IV comes through, takes out Mickeey's Panzer IV. Mickeey is now getting aggressive on this bottom side. F5 Panhard, lovely choice by Mickeey. Gonna get aggressive. Gonna shoot that half track. Even if he doesn't kill it, he will make it fall back and he can get the surrender. Panzer IV is the response from Herr Robert. But look at that territory taken back there from Mickeey. Gonna even give him a +1 for the time being. The other thing we've got to look out for is this off map coming in. The Jeep FAO here. I think it's 356mm off map. This German Grenadiers does not want to be on the wrong side of that. Because that will happen. The German Grenadiers go down. Sniper takes its shot beforehand. Claims a couple of the kills. Now we see off map coming down on the top here. Sacrifices the F5 saboteurs. Now Herr Robert's gonna start to move his units forwards and occupy these buildings. But that's gonna be just in time for this off map to hit him real hard. So I love this off map here from Mickeey. That is really, really smart. It does kind of depend on how quickly these German Grenadiers recover and where exactly Herr Robert goes with them. Currently, they are not moving. I think Herr Robert's more worried about his strafing run. But Mickeey going to be keeping a good eye on this engagement. Panhard has been brought in, and that will be looking to fast move and surrender as many units as it can. And since all of the AP value units are pinned down, the Panhard shouldn't really have a hard time making some ground. On this bottom side, oh, the F5 Partisans. Is that the Partisans took out the 232? I think it was. The Panhard, though, going to go down to the Panzer IV. And a nice little engagement down there. The Panhard actually ends up getting Panzerfausted by the Sturm Grenadiers as they do recover just before it gets there. Focke-Wulf 190 gets rid of these infantry, the recon infantry there. And that's something that Mickeey's going to be starting to lack moving on in this game. One thing he does not lack, though, is another off-map strike. And that is now going to be looking for a hit onto the Panzergrenadier and Sturm Grenadiers. You've got to realise, though, that Mickeey really can't see what's going on here. And so most of these off-map strikes are most likely guesses. But Herr Robert now trying to engage the Jagdpanzer with the Pak 40. Might end up with the Jagdpanzer in front of his Pak 40. It depends where this Jagdpanzer retreats to, and currently it's just reversing away. So no problem. Ooh, this is not good. The SAS command there. They use a Piat, they internal fragment the Panzer IV. Herr Robert's lucky to get away with that one. Off map really didn't do too much. That Jagdpanzer getting back into position, going to try and cover this road against enemy vehicles and infantry advancing. These Sturm Grenadiers, they're going to try and engage, but oh, the command here, they could jump out the building and use their Piat if Mickeey spots it. I don't think he's going to in time. That Jagdpanzer was definitely within 200 meter range for a long time, but obviously his attention was spent elsewhere. Currently, Herr Robert has found himself a +1. He is finding a lot of ground. Although many of his Sturm Grenadiers have died, I'm not entirely sure how many he will have on his division because the numbers do vary quite a bit. I personally have, I think, 6 or at least 2 cards of Sturm Grenadiers on my division because that's like the maximum amount you can have. But some people only take 1 in favour of having more Panzer Grenadiers or Pioneers and other things like that. But either way, Pak 40 still engaging the Jagdpanzer. M4A376 is on the field since we have now hit Phase C. And, well, the Demi-Brigade, they have this annoying early game. They have to hold on in the mid-game, which Mickeey kinda has done. He's done it to the best of his ability, but unfortunately Herr Robert still managed to break through. But moving into the Phase C, that's where the Americans arrive with their M4s. And those M4s can be very deadly, as was just displayed as a kill came down onto that Panzer IV. So the Focke-Wulf 190, that's going to be strafing this Jeep. I think possibly this Jeep might be trying to suicide. Usually I prefer to just send my Jeeps back to the base because they don't really have much use after they've used up their off-map. And losing them kind of just affects your KD. But in this case, yeah, Mickeey's just going to let it die. Didn't really need to move it forwards. This Ju-88 now going to be looking for the pin onto the M4A3. Not that it really would affect too much. Even if it does pin it down, which it didn't, it's only going to save this half track at the end of the day, and there's no real AP value unit to take advantage of the pinned M4. SAS Group FM, they're going to be advancing towards this half track. There's potential that they can get grenades off here and actually kill this half track, especially with the smoke in the way. Not this time around. Armoured rifles are coming in on the field. But it seems as though, with that Panzer IV dying, this mid-salient that Herr Robert had has kind of fallen apart, because Herr Robert hasn't had time to sort of reinforce his town properly, and there's still infantry in here that's pretty difficult to dislodge. The SAS command aren't fantastic, but these SAS chasseurs para can be quite annoying, and you can see that the SAS command here are just going to be grenading this half track, since Herr Robert's allowed that to happen. On this bottom side, Panzer IV being engaged by a Pak 40. Surely the Pak 40 will find the kill. Yes, it will. The thing is, because these Pak 40s have 6 base accuracy, if you let them have a couple of shots, generally the second or third will find the kill, and especially at that range, which was only 800 meters. So that definitely helped as well, giving the Pak 40 17 AP versus the Panzer IV's 8 armor. It's a significant difference there. So this Vespa just going to try and hit any potential infantry in the town. But I am surprised to see that Herr Robert hasn't invested in more infantry to just kind of secure this properly so far. Because now he's in a position where his reinforcements are going to be coming in at the same rate as Mickeey's. And Mickeey is going to be able to kind of push into Herr Robert, or into the town at least, and contest this very easily. Mickeey's current priority is the M4A3 and this M4A1 here. He's also brought in an M4A1 to the mid, which will do a good job of ripping apart any infantry that gets in his way. However, we'll have to be very careful of the 150 meter range engagement. Herr Robert here waiting for the Panzerfaust to reload. Surprised he hasn't jumped that back in. Does so a little bit too late. The M4A1 is long out of there. And this Mickeey on the top here has been in a really nice position all game. Like Mickeey's recon information is really very good. Not going to stop Herr Robert from rocketing a saboteur squad though. They go down, and Herr Robert, well, he actually has the 259s in Phase C. Now, as opposed to other divisions that utilise the 259s, I think the 2nd Panzer is the only one that can bring them in Phase C with 2-star veterancy. I've just never really found a good use for them, but in this case, Herr Robert might be able to make some serious ground here if he doesn't come up against much armour. However, as I say that, M4A1 is on its way, but we can see that the M4 did try and push through here and got killed by the Pak 40. Mickeey just getting a little bit over aggressive, and both players being punished for their aggression so far. Now the Focke-Wulf 190 coming in to strafe the M4. That's going to try and push that engagement in favour of the Panzer IVJ. Panzer IVJ does find the internal fragments, which is really nice. Now the Panzer IV and the 259 will be looking to clean up the Pak 40. But Herr Robert's got to be careful that his BEO Panzer II does not get killed by the Pak-40, as that could end quite badly. But the armoured rifles, they're going to clean up the 259, and once again aggression is punished. Same goes for this command infantry. M8 now going to be the reply to the 259s. Can also engage the Panzer IV-J at close range and probably succeed. But yeah, nice reply actually. Completely forgot that Mickeey had the M8s available. But they can be used to take out 259s very well. However, at close range, the M8 will have to be careful that the 20mm doesn't do the damage and blow up the M8. That could definitely happen. Panzer IV-J. Can it find the kill? Yes, it can. I think the M8 was engaging the Panzer II, so the Panzer IV-J had all day long. But we're currently sitting at 51% in favour of Herr Robert. Mickeey's going to win in 12 minutes and 20 seconds at this rate. But not much between these two players, that's for sure. And honestly, I'm surprised that Herr Robert didn't make more ground in Phase B. But now it's Phase C, it's time for Mickeey's push to come back and try and make as much ground as he can. Because 150 points per minute often gives you too many points to spend. And with all of the lovely M4s that you can gain access to, you should start to really make some ground. Especially if you're against a division that has not yet invested in any Panthers. Like, even though the 2nd Panzer has Panthers available, it's unlikely that Herr Robert was ever going to invest in them because of the map layout. But Focke-Wulf 190s come in with those airstrikes, and the Ju-88 bombs it as well, forcing back the Jagdpanzer for now, as well as one of the infantry squads. But Pak-40 once again finds a kill onto a Panzer IV, and I'm surprised that this Pak-40 has been allowed to live as long as it has. 259 now getting aggressive. Gotta be careful, technically open top, and that means that the Gruppe FM can use their grenades to try and take them out, and they will be successful in doing so. And for the SAS Gruppe FM that cost 15 points, a 35 point kill is pretty damn nice. Armoured rifles have now recovered. They're going to use their bazooka to take out a half-track, but now coming under fire from the Panzer IV-J and 232. So that's going to clean them up and maybe allow Herr Robert to make a bit more ground down here, because this M4A1 is still out of ammunition, but an M4A 375 is on the field. Meanwhile in the mid though, Mickeey's starting to break through, and Panzer IV-H is going to be engaging that. The driver wound there onto the M4A1 will allow the Panzer IV-H a safe second shot. Finds the kill. Now the M4A 376 is going to have to be careful as well. Isn't even aiming back at the Panzer IV. This is really, really bad. Why is that Panzer IV not firing? Or the M4, sorry, not firing. That is awful. Now Mickeey just going to be backing that off. Meanwhile on the top side, a little bit of aggression from Herr Robert is trying to take out the M5 gun and SAS Gruppe FM. Focke-Wulf 190 comes in for the strafe onto the M4A 376 in the mid, which allows the Panzer IV to come out of cover and engage that. Meanwhile on the bottom side, the Panzer IV-Js are now engaging the M4A 375, and this is Herr Robert's chance. If he can take out this tank in the mid, take out these tanks on the bottom side, then he will be able to make that +1 that he needs to get back on the board. But will likely need a +3 to actually get himself a victory, since there is only 9 minutes left on the clock. Nice job though by the Sturm Grenadiers here to kill off some infantry and force back the SAS Gruppe FM. The AT gun did die on that top side, so no more threat for tanks. Panzer IV-J though, coming under fire from the Pak-38 is not fantastic. Armoured rifle takes out one of the 259s as Herr Robert continues to try and make some ground. But this is really, really bad at the moment. Like, every time a player tries to make some sort of aggressive move, they get punished for it, and this is like the last Panzer IV on this bottom side. Pak-38 still up and running. I'm surprised these Focke-Wulfs weren't used to kill the Pak-38, but the Vesper there actually coming in and saving the day. Spitfire Mark 9 is going to be used to bomb the 259. And now, well, with the Panzer IV-J falling back and the M4A3 still live, that's going to be able to do a lot of damage to the units that Herr Robert has left. And, well, Herr Robert doesn't actually have many units left. This Jagdpanzer, like it's going to be trying to snipe the Panzer IV-J up the road. And yeah, so far, Herr Robert's just been in a position where his Panzer IVs haven't quite done the work he needed them to, and Focke-Wulf 190 going down there is definitely going to hurt. Jagdpanzer alongside the M5 gun did manage to take out the Panzer IV there, I believe. So nice job. And Mickeey still poking holes in Herr Robert's defense, which basically means it's getting harder and harder for Herr Robert to win this game, because currently in 7 minutes and 30 seconds Mickeey will win, and his infantry play has actually been pretty nice, or at least his infantry placement. We haven't seen any spectacular micro out of him, but he's definitely done well to have infantry in all the right places. And well, this air engagement has also gone very well for him. Another Focke-Wulf going to be shot down by this 2-star Tempest. Not sure what Mickeey, or Herr Robert, sorry, was really thinking bringing out a Focke-Wulf when both of these aircraft were right by his spawn. Maybe completely forgot about them or didn't see them on the mini-map since they were flying off the map or something. But either way, Sherman does go down. Panzer IV-J finds that engagement, which does kind of turn things around. But a new M4A3 75 is on the way, and there's going to be so many kills in this game, guys. It's going to be unbelievable. 259 goes down to the armoured rifles. Again, aggression being punished. And it should be. I mean, any good player should punish aggression. So Mickeey making that happen every time is very good. And Herr Robert has been able to do the same throughout the game so far, but has been on the losing side of the score throughout the game. But has managed to breach the second M4. Now this one is internal fragmented, so the Panzer IV-Js won't have to worry about it. Whether or not Herr Robert remembers that or not, I'm not entirely sure, but he definitely does have a good opportunity to push aggressively on this bottom side. Just needs to get like another recon squad or like infantry to accompany him forwards, because these armoured rifles have proven pretty annoying with those bazookas throughout the game so far. Can't really hold back though if he wants to have a chance of winning. Needs to find himself a +1, get his points up, because currently Mickeey has the +1 with his salient in the mid. So all of a sudden things really starting to speed up towards the late game here. Phase C has been a lot quicker than the first two phases combined, and both players will be trying to solidify their victory. Focke-Wulf, that's going to be flying around, still has its 2 rockets available. Not entirely sure what it's going to be targeting. Maybe look for the M5 gun here in the mid, or maybe even these armoured rifles just to clean those up, get rid of this little salient. Spitfire Mark 9 though is going to prevent these pioneers from getting any further. And if the M4A1 had stayed near the tree line there, that would have been a surrender. Focke-Wulf 190 now going to be trying to engage the Spitfire Mark 9, but I think Herr Robert's going to be careful that he doesn't get baited into an engagement where the Tempest can come in and punish him. It is on its way. Actually, that's going to be a Mosquito, which is now bombing this bottom side. M4A3 though, going to kill the Panzer IV-J, and oh, these Panzer IVs. Herr Robert has relied on them so much, and they just really have not paid off. I wouldn't even say that Panthers would have worked out any better either. So it really just comes down to how they're microed and making sure that his flanks are protected, and in this case they were not. The M4A3 able to utilise its range to pop the Panzer IV there, and we're still at a 50-50. 657 points though for Mickeey may just be enough for him to win this game. Demi-Grenadiers now though, going to move into the town. SCS Sniper trying to take them on. Potentially could pin the Demi-Grenadiers, but not going to be successful in doing so this time around. This FFI traction trying to get really far up into the town, but not quite going to make it. Probably going to get wrecked by the Puma that's now being brought in. Meanwhile, in the middle, armoured rifles being attacked by the speed troop. 2 half-tracks rolling up as well with the machine guns. That's going to pin down the armoured rifles, and now Herr Robert may look for a surrender there. SAS Chasseur Palo though still have gammon bombs, and that's something he's going to have to worry about. 250-10 going to try and take out the M3 half-track on the top side. That's going to surrender the armoured rifles since there's no commander nearby. Demi-Grenadiers get surrendered in the town though, so constant engagements either way. This is just an absolute insane game where neither player has ever been able to make a play without trading units. So the Focal, or the P-47 Thunderbolt, comes in with the rockets to try and get rid of this Puma. The Mosquito also coming in with the bombs here. Never mind, that just strafed since it's already used its bombs. But one thing that Herr Robert does manage to do is surrender the SAS unit in that town, which is very nice. Now charging down towards the centre here, does find himself a +1. But currently not going to be enough to stop the minor victory from Mickeey. Mickey's going to be continuing with his air force, takes out a Panzer ground there, just cleans that up, gives himself a little bit of ground back. More for Herr Robert coming towards the town. These pioneers should be able to hit this M5 gun quite nicely, but command there do manage to hit the Panzer II with a Piat. Now under fire from the Puma, and these vehicles though may not last too long. Focke-Wulf 190, the Spitfire has managed to get onto the back of that, so was the Tempest, but they're now focusing on the Ju-88S. That Ju-88S is pretty fast, but that's probably going against it as it allows the Tempest and P-47 Thunderbolt to stay on its rear for a longer amount of time. But as we can see, the breakthrough is starting to occur. Mickey's infantry is being broken down by the Pioneers slowly but surely, and as that continues to occur, Herr Robert may find himself a +2 this late into the game. Whether or not that will change the outcome remains to be seen, but so far a lot of points for Mickeey are remaining in the air, whilst Herr Robert is mostly on the ground, and that is the difference here. The other good thing is that Herr Roberts utilised his half-tracks and so on to do a lot of damage to Mickey's infantry, and Mickeey just reinforcing infantry without the reinforcing tanks there is not ideal. So now it's going to be a draw. Herr Robert with the +2 will find a draw, and that is quite something after a game that has been this long and this close for the entire time. I think both players will be frustrated. On the side of Herr Robert, he'll be frustrated that he couldn't make the ground sooner, and I think on the side of Mickeey, he's going to be frustrated that he couldn't hold for just that little bit longer. And well, that's game. And after the 40 minutes, it's going to be a draw between Mickeey and Herr Robert. Very, very interesting game with some questionable plays for sure. Quite a few mistakes on both sides. And I think the main thing was in this game that aggression was punished. I said it over and over again, but it just seemed as though every time a player wanted to get aggressive, their units were dying because they'd overextended without the use of recon, or without the use of infantry, or without the use of armor. And well, throwing units backwards and forwards certainly leaves a lot of kills and losses on the field, with 3,625 kills to 3,535 losses for Mickeey. It's like a total of 7,000 units lost throughout this game. It's pretty bad. Not a good thing. In terms of kills, the Jagdpanzer, it killed a Panzer IV-J, but didn't really do too much more than that. The naval battery was used blindly and only ended up killing the Sturmgrenadiers and Panzergrenadier in the end. M4A376s, they had the potential to do a lot of damage, but only ended up getting ramped in the ends there with that one M4A3. The Tempest, though, really nicely microed by Mickeey to take down 2 Focke-Wulf 190A8s, the Focke-Wulf 190A8 BR21, and the Ju-88S. This armoured rifle, picking up a Pak 40 and a Panzer IV-H, is absolutely insane. These armoured rifles are generally pretty bad, but on this map, with the close range engagements, those bazookas were doing work, and you can see these armoured rifles cleaning up the 259s as they got aggressive, was just the icing on the cake, and it's kind of stopped like Herr Robert in his tracks and prevented him from making the ground sooner, which is why it ended up in a draw as opposed to a victory in favour of Herr Robert, which it probably would have been if Mickeey didn't put up such a stubborn defence, because it didn't seem like Mickeey had the initiative moving into the late game. He was just kind of trying to use those M4s to defend. There was a couple of places he was making ground, to be fair, but they were easily shut down by Herr Robert, just as Herr Robert's pushes were shut down by Mickeey. So swings and roundabouts, really. M4A 376 takes up Panzer IV-J. Mosquito strafed to death at Puma in the end. In terms of losses, Focke-Wulf 190 shooting down those 2 Western Lysounders early on. I'm not sure. Like, the first one's fine coming in and bombing stuff and being a nuisance, but there was no reason to bring in the second one when the Focke-Wulf 190 was still about. The off-map from Herr Robert did manage to kill off quite a few nice units here. This is the one that comes in with the Panzer II, killing a Pak 38, Pak 40, and this AA pays off the Panzer II multiple times over, because you've got to sort of recognise the value of the Panzer II on its own as well, which in this case, this one killed 3 units of infantry. So not only did it use its off-map to kill those units, but it also killed the infantry with its main gun, and so on. This Panzer IV-H did a nice job. Panzer IV-H on the Allied side going down, M4A1 and M4A3, those were the ones that made that aggressive push in the mid. Vesper got a few kills and was used okay throughout the game, probably could have had a bit more uptime, but it was fine. Panzer IV-J cleaned up a few units on the bottom, and some of these Panzer IV-Js paid themselves off, other ones just did not. Like, the amount of Panzer IVs that we did see throughout this game, the fact is that only a few of them really got a decent amount of kills, or a kill at all. So yeah, a messy game for both players, ends up in a draw, and that's just how it is. In the Swiss style tournament, you can get draws, so that is the outcome of this game. Again, Herr Robert probably frustrated he didn't find the ground in time, especially considering he did break through quite significantly at the end. And Mickeey probably annoyed that he didn't hold on for just that little bit longer, since all he needed to do was, you know, maintain that 50-50, and he probably would have had the game in the bag. But Herr Robert found a way to make it at least a draw, and that's where we're going to leave it. So, after 48 minutes, that is it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.